What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Reclamation and welcome to episode 3 of the Intimacy series with Hilary Stark. Really excited to bring this episode out to you all. This one's chock full of juicy details and triggering topics. So, throughout this intimacy series, we've gone on this journey through what intimacy means, from safe body, attunement with ourselves, into attunement with others, and then now into what intimacy means in the bedroom, where most people place the idea of what intimacy is and where intimacy exists. It's really just constricted. That's the wrong word. It's really just like boxed in, kind of constricted to the bedroom. Hilary and I, we talk all about those foundations we've built upon in the previous episodes, and when they are applied in intimacy through sex, that connection reaches new depths and new heights. As with all the episodes, Hilary and I encourage you to approach the information in this episode with compassion and curiosity. We talk through the 4 sex narratives that permeate our culture, which are sex positive, sex negative, sex neutral, and sex sacred. Where do you land within those narratives? Just be curious and ask yourselves questions about why you've landed there. Have you ever challenged that narrative? Is it a narrative you do actually agree with after you've challenged yourself on it? As I stated before, this conversation is going to have triggering topics. If you find yourself in discussion alongside us while you're listening, where you're defending a position or you're in high energy disagreement, ask yourself, where are my limiting beliefs? Where are my judgments, my projections? Where are my insecurities? Where is my conditioning showing up in this trigger? Because that trigger might be a doorway to something that leads you into an experience of deeper intimacy in your life, especially in the bedroom, as we talk about in this episode. Deeper intimacy than you could have ever imagined before you challenged yourself on your own prevailing assumptions, ideas, and beliefs based off of your conditioning. It is also totally okay to disagree. It's super healthy to disagree. And I encourage you to be where you are at. None of us have to be at the same place. There's no right place to be. There's no perfect place to be. This is strictly for you to question something that comes up as challenging in your body and in your mind, because those typically are our edge points. And Hilary and I are all about questioning those edge points. And after you've challenged yourself, if you've landed in that same place as when you began, super good. You have consciously chosen your position. That I absolutely can get behind. Also, this is equally important to remember. We can get into a bit of a pickle, Hilary and I, when we are asking you to challenge yourself. First, because we know there's abuse. It is so real. Hilary and I do validate that experience, and we know its legitimacy. There is abuse within this idea of intimacy, and to allow yourself to challenge your points that make you uncomfortable, just know there's so much nuance to relationships. There's so much nuance to what's uncomfortable and what's triggering because it's traumatic. Okay. So please take it easy on yourself. We do understand that there is trauma, and we're not asking people to challenge their high level trauma and to disregard all of that experience. We would have to dissect so much from the individual story before we even approach challenging our narratives within the relationship with who you want to be intimate with. Okay. I considered this for a while. The place I was brought back to is the start of this series, which is safe body and attunement. I really feel when these foundations are present, we can approach the experiences of disharmony or unmet expectations and needs in ourselves and in our relationships, and how our personal narratives and conditionings contribute to that in a much more grounded and clear way. That attunement to self, that safe body, will help you to navigate your triggers in connection to trauma and your triggers in connection to conditioning. If you are looking for support in reconnecting to your body, you can reach out to Hilary. She has such a beautiful program and her own style and vibe as she weaves in that tantra magic. Or you can reach out to me. I work with Safe Body in the somatic space, really bringing in a nature-based approach, a ritual-based approach, and rhythmic approach to discovering that safety in your body. You can also start with my free series on YouTube, Reclaim Your Safe Body. That link is in the show notes. Okay, off you go into this episode. Super curious about your thoughts, whatever they may be. And please keep in mind, this is episode 3 of the intimacy series. It builds off of episode 1 and 2, where we've really established a strong foundation in intimacy with self and safe body. Okay, enjoy the episode. We are doing episode 3 now and carrying along this story of intimacy, where we started with safe body, and then we talked about attunement. We talked about our own experiences with intimacy and our bodies, and sort of the conditioning that we both experienced, and how we came up into adulthood with those ideas. And now we're segueing into taking that intimacy, the definitions that we've given, taking attunement and the experiences that we've shared, and even on the YouTube extended version, the live attunement with each other, into what everyone thinks about when you say intimacy, which is sex. And so I would love for you to briefly just remind everyone safe body and intimacy and attunement. We're going to really go a lot deeper into these again as it relates to now sex and the bedroom, but just with ourselves, if you just want to go over that recap.
Yeah, in the previous 2 episodes, we just talked a lot about what does safe body look and feel like. We walked through the exercise of attuning, and then talking about the art of intimacy, and how a lot of people think that intimacy is sex, or it's only through sex.
Right.
And we live in a society where we're constantly in go mode and in dysregulation and tasking and doing. I talk about being in that, just in the head, like, let's get below the neck, let's get into the body. And oftentimes with safe body and attunement and intimacy, it's not being brought into the bedroom, into sexuality, into sexual connection. So yeah, in the previous episodes 1 and 2, we talked about safety, safe body, regulating your nervous system, attuning to self and one another, and intimacy. And a lot of that being with your younger self, with connection to your body, your shame body, your pleasure body, into teenage, young, dating, adulthood, right? A lot of it being close on or close off with self. And so leading into today's episode, it's going to be more about how do I continue to create safety, intimacy, and attunement with myself as a woman, with my clothes on and with my clothes off, with myself, and with his clothes on and his clothes off with himself. And then bringing that naked body, pleasure body, sexual experience into the bedroom through conversation of shame and sexuality and religious and societal programming. And how they all interplay all the time. We talk about foreplay starting in the morning through a text or through a conversation. It's not just the foreplay of getting her into her naked body and going from there. And it's interesting, a lot of men specifically, because men are more sexual driven and sex driven, I think. It's just like their innate nature. A lot of men will come to me wanting to like fix sexual stuff or their sex life or sexual abuse or just having sexual related stuff. And they often, and couples, women, they'll find it interesting when I'm like, okay, well, we're going to go back here to close on and like, let's get intimate. And like, why are we eye gazing and breathing? Like, what does this have to do with anything? Right. So I'm excited to chat with you today about how this build of our series has created an evolution and an unfolding of the journey of tantric sex and how so many people have it so black and white, or it's this, but it's not that. And it's like, it's all connected. It's everything. And I think the masculine way of doing life and doing sex as men and women, is what's keeping us from this deeper connection with self and with each other, and the evolution of what is true intimacy and attunement and sexual expression and being felt and seen and heard. And I talked to you earlier about wanting to guide this through really taking a feminine approach, and the feminine energy being below the neck. It's into the heart space. It's into the body. It's into the five senses. It's into this journey below here. And I think this is what's transforming relationships and like the new earth, the new way of life is through this feminine awakening, not just for women, but the feminine energy awakening for men and women, and understanding there's not as much doing. It's more being and slowing down and listening. So a lot of today's episode, we talked about wanting to bring in curiosity and compassion and conversation and flow of let's talk about it. Let's get curious about it. Let's experience it. Let's play with it. Let's be open to it. So just wanting to kind of open with that approach and leading into today.
It's super great because I love when you can take a foundational idea and have it be foundational across all of these topics. And what you said with curiosity and compassion, that's how we begin to approach ourselves. So we started the series with approaching ourselves, and now we take that same foundation of compassion and curiosity, non-judgment, just open and asking these questions into now a relationship with somebody else that we desire to be the most intimate with. I love this too, because there's an aliveness here that exists, and we both are there's just this excitement to bring the message, not bring the message, it's already out there, but just continue to forward the message of living intimate lives equals living alive. And so it's just gonna be great, and I'm so excited for all of the connections that are gonna really land on this episode, and then the next one as well. So just to kind of like pull back out of the energetics of it all, and we can just kind of look at things from a objective standpoint of the narratives that exist with sex. Mm-hmm. And this information comes from Dr. Gaffney's book, Return to Eros, if anybody's interested in that. But it's kind of four narratives that exist about sex. And we're going to sit here for just a minute and talk about what your narratives were, what my narratives were, and how it caused our approach to sex. Mm-hmm. So 4 narratives. First one is sex negative, which is a negative approach towards sex, a negative idea towards sex, a lot of preventative language. It's for our protection. It's wrong. It's immoral. It's sinful. Some people talk about like, oh, I was taught about sex as if it was held up against murder, like this same sort of sin. It was such a sinful thing to do outside of marriage. And sex negative is very shaming mm-hmm. through a high level of disapproval. Mm-hmm. And it'll get you into trouble.
Yeah.
So,
which is often safe. The religion.
Yeah, approach. It's very fear-based. And boundaries are created to protect you. So, does that sound like COVID to you? I'm like, as I say, I'm like, COVID. Okay. So what COVID did to all of us too
created more fear,
and it kept us from each other mm-hmm. and it kept us from intimacy, and it starved a lot of people from relationshiping. Yeah. Okay. So yes, religion carries that narrative strongly. The next narrative, sex positive approach to sex. Mm-hmm. Sex will cure all your dysfunction when it's liberated. Just let it go, be free with sex. And it's the opposite too, is if you're like caged with sex, then you're going to have a lot of dysfunction in your life or illnesses. Just you'll feel tight and restricted. Sex positive says that narrative just wants to completely disconnect you from anything existential or anything emotional. It's just good and do it. That kind of thing. Just don't get wrapped up into like the whole thing of it. It's just liberating. Instead of being boundaried like sex negative, it's completely boundaryless. And the 60s really gave a good picture of the sexual revolution in that way.
Okay.
Sex positive says you need to release your sexual tension in order to live a happy, healthy life. So sex equals happy, healthy life. This is a Freudian approach. He tried to make the sex narrative equal, like it's a pill you take for health and happiness. Then there's sex neutral. Sex neutral came from a guy who rebelled against his sex negative upbringing from a pastor. Yeah. He was a pastor's son. He rebelled against that. His name is Alfred Kinsey, and kind of created the sex neutral narrative, which is it's biological. It's just is what it is.
Like procreating.
Not procreating even. It's just like, it's like blinking and breathing. It just is. It's not good. It's not bad. It's just a part of your needs.
Interesting.
Like blinking and breathing. Okay. Yeah. And then the fourth sex narrative is sex sacred. Sex is sacred. Mm-hmm. And this also has a lot of religious roots to it too. Mm-hmm. And because sex creates life and life is holy, then sex is holy. Mm-hmm. So all 4 of these narratives have their limitations, have their inability to really capture all that sex is. And so then with Gaffney's work and with what we are picking up from it is that intimacy and attunement and safety within our own body and with your own body are just our known. I use the word ness, like our ness is known to us. Then we can create a new narrative of sex that is all encompassing of what our experience within it is.
When you said the word, the ness, like my beingness or my ness.
Yeah.
The word that came through for me was like these innate tools. Like when I'm well sourced and and I have my tools and I'm innately like attuning, intimacy, safe body, eros. When I'm connected to my aliveness and my fullness, my innate tools within me, creating that a guide or a map or like I'm resourced. I have the tools innately through these practices to then trust myself and my ability to show up in intimately, sexually connect.
Yeah. Your ness is like it's all there. It's all known to you, right? Okay, so from that, it's important to discuss that because everybody's got a sex narrative that they were taught. And you and I want to encourage people to just start to ask the questions on your conditioning, because a lot of your triggers that show up in attunement, intimacy, even with yourself, and now we're going to go with somebody else, and in an act that is like so controversial in its existence, we're going to ask, what are your triggers there? And how are those connected to the narratives that you were taught growing up? So from that, what were your narratives? And then I'll share what my narratives were. And we have shared what our narratives were as with our bodies. So this is more specific to sex and how that brought us into adulthood. And maybe affected your adult relationships that way, whether you were the rebel or you were adhered, or you just didn't know what to do with yourself.
Yeah. And it's fun because like we have such polar opposite experiences with our religion and
life experience.
upbringings. Coming from a mixed home where there was multiple religions, Catholicism, Mormonism, and just like nothing. My parents not really living by one religious standard per se. My mom's side Catholic, my dad's side Mormon, Jack Mormon. My parents kind of just went with like, this is what we feel and what we believe versus like, you're going to be shamed or it's a sin next to murder. It was more like, hey, you should save sex for a marriage, for a committed partnership, for like, it's a sacred thing. It's a big deal. And if you're going to be sexually explorative or active or intimate, having those regular conversations with my mom and dad when I was little was normal. Which I remember having them at like 10, 11, 12. And so, my mom was like, if you're going to be having sex, like I would like for you to come and talk to me if it becomes something you're interested in. And get on birth control, like there was things of like being smart and preventative. And again, saying like, and we don't encourage you to be doing it at 10, 11, 12. Like, let me say that. It was like starting to understand the feminine body and boys start liking you and emotions and hormones start coming in at 12, 13, 14. And like, you're going to start having these things, these feelings or these desires. And so for me, it was a narrative of like, I'm free to talk about it with my parents, my sacred bleed, sex, condoms, birth control, all of that stuff was an open topic in my house. And I did talk to my parents about it. I didn't lose my virginity, I mean, I guess until, but which even Utah might be young. 17, and I was in a relationship. It was like, I had a conscious choice. And before I did it, I had said like I was going to wait until marriage. So my narrative changed for myself, not based on religion or my parents. It was like my choosing. And then I did talk to my mom and like shared with my friends when I had that experience. And it's interesting because I don't remember that exact time, like to go back to that exact moment of losing my virginity. Like I don't remember every detail of that.
Interesting. Yeah.
Which makes me wonder, like, was there some obviously dissociating or me not knowing what safe body was or to really be in my body or to feel completely safe? I don't know.
Like even in asking that question right now, what are you feeling about that? Just initially.
Honestly, I think it goes back to the feminine desire that I believe like every woman wants to be like ravished or dominated or like taken or just like for me like I just want to be, like
so wanted.
Yeah, like just desired and like experienced and explored by a man. I remember that partner was more like dominant and could be more like I don't want to use aggressive, but not in like a bad way, but that could sound bad.
Desirably aggressive?
Yeah, and so maybe for me it's like learning like what is healthy masculine dominant energy versus like this false narrative that men have about like what they think dominating a woman looks like. And so what comes up for me when you say that is just like, was it maybe more aggressive and fast and like and so there wasn't a real like it was just a quick act,
kind of like not much to remember anyway.
Yeah, maybe. Okay. Yeah. Maybe that's where like my trauma brain self and my somatic self is like, was it traumatizing? And I just didn't think it was, but it's like that doesn't feel true. So for you to say that, it's like, okay, that probably feels like more of what it was.
Okay.
So yeah, that's a good point that you bring up.
Yeah.
That maybe that's just what it was, like quick, hot, and heavy, which I think that's maybe what men and women think sex, like that's good sex. We could talk about like what is good sex and what is sex, right?
Yeah.
Later. Yeah. So yeah, for me, my narrative was, it was pretty like freely open and talked about in my household. And
you sound like you were pretty educated.
Yeah.
Not shamed.
No. And then I had quite a few experiences through college, but I always felt like it was my body, it was my choice, and I was choosing. And so it never felt like I was being shamed into or out of sex, or that I ever felt forced or pressured.
Okay.
So my narrative was pretty normal and free and like, oh, okay, well, I thought this is just kind of how I thought that was the norm. And then talking with more people, especially girls in Utah, it was like, oh, that was not a lot of people's experiences.
No, for sure. So you kind of had a mixture of sex negative, which was like, we're going to set a little boundaries here, and sex positive, which is like, but be free with it when you're ready too. So that's cool. That's cool.
And I would say there was sacredness around it in a way that like I chose to have that experience. It wasn't like I felt pressured into it, that he pressured me into it, or that I felt like, oh my God, I just did this thing and like I thought I wanted it, but I have so much shame and programming from my parents or religion that now, because I have had, and we don't have to go into that per se, but like how many experiences have you heard where a girl or a guy had a sexual experience they chose into, and then later I've talked with men and had college guy friends I knew who later would then get a rape charge against them because the woman would go back and talk to like family or friends or church people, and then someone else would, through their manipulation or their language or their words, convince them like, are you sure? And then she would probably get into that purity culture shame of like, oh my God, well, maybe not, or maybe this. And so that's been a sad thing for men where it's like, oh,
well, that's the arousal does not equal consent. And that, arousal does not equal consent. And what was the other one? Does not equal rape. Consent does not equal rape.
Which he talks about that in the book.
Yeah. And I was perfect. Like, yeah.
And that's where I think we just circle back to why it's saying like your body, your exploration, your intimacy, your pleasure, your relationship with self, like it's so vital and important because not only does it cause pain and harm to self, but it also can harm and pain to another when it's like, was that, like, it's just, we don't know what we don't know.
Yeah. I love that. And I just super love how it keeps circling back to our personal responsibility, which we will keep doing. Okay, so you feel like good with that? Mm-hmm. Okay.
What was your narrative?
So my narrative, I was Mormon. And so if you're Mormon or no Mormons, you already know what my narrative is. But let's be more specific to my household, which I think my parents and their experiences in some of their heavy shame that they held from their own life explorations made it really strong. Like I felt a really strong hand over me with anything that might lead to sex. And I talked on the last episode about modesty and how it's like pretty much if you show your belly, you're going to have sex. Like that was kind of the narrative. It was like very fear-based and not talked a lot about, very taboo, awkward. And my parents were not physically, like physical touch was not something that was displayed in my household. So it made it even more awkward of a thing, even like a hug, right? So my narrative was very sex negative and the highest of all sins. And if you did that, then probably you'd be like, I'm thinking back because I did have a high school boyfriend that was like near misses all the time. And
share with me what you mean by like
near misses, like, oh my gosh, we almost had sex. And
dancing on the edges.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And in that time period, having it be such a relief that we didn't, right? Which isn't to say that's good or bad. It just, that's how it was. And maybe myself now can look back and think, okay, well, was it good or bad? I don't know. I can't even answer that now. But then it was good. It was so good that we didn't actually follow through on all of that. And there were a few times where it's like, it was tearful knowing, because he had friends that were sexually active and would get girls pregnant. And I had friends that got pregnant in high school. And so we would always look at each other like that could have been us, right? Which is maybe possibly true. I'm very fertile. So that was my narrative of sex. And then you get married and now it's allowed. But I didn't, at the time, I didn't have any issues there. It's always been good in the bedroom. But we'll talk later about how that's also, I've become more aware of what I thought.
And the more you find, the more I know, the more I realize I don't know so much, right? Like the more we learn, the more we're like, wow.
Oh yeah. In that state that I was, I thought I was doing exactly the right thing, like being my most best self. Oh boy.
Don't we? Yeah. We'll dive into those parts of ourselves. Like, yep, I thought I knew it all, or I thought my way was the way.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially if you are raised in a culture that outwardly says that.
And it's like, well, everyone else, this is what we do. Everyone else is doing it. And so like, it must be right because it's the way everyone else is doing it. So it's the right way.
Yeah. Yeah. So from there, it's so great because again, the thing we want people to just begin with is to ask questions. So what's your sex narrative? And just be curious and open about that. Don't judge it.
Yeah. And in the sex narrative, okay, now in your current adult life, are those narratives still true for you? What do you want to take from those narratives? And then passing on the generational cycles. What are you teaching what are you wanting? What are the narratives you want to create, or the stories or the openness and freedom and safety you want to cultivate with your children? And their friends and their dating experiences, and also like new narratives with your partner.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Just totally challenging.
Yeah.
Where we're at.
Curiosity.
Yep. Okay. Let me think here. I'm remembering we kind of covered a lot of this talk about masturbation on the last episode and what our narratives were there, and how we advocate for relationship with self in that way, and how that enables you to know your ness as you move forward in relationship with others. Like, I understand my own body very well. So now then I can communicate, which we'll get into.
And tapping into that really quick, that is something in the Tantra world and in client space. I will invite my couples to, I mean, if you're in a relationship with self and you're not currently married or dating, you can, we talk a lot about mirror work in the healing realm, affirmations, looking yourself in the face. You can go into the sacred sexuality piece with touching or dancing or connecting with your body in front of a mirror naked as a man or a woman. Also, another invitation for men and women is allowing yourself to touch yourself in front of your partners, like having a partner sitting on couches or on the bed or wherever the space decides to be, of like how intimate, how scary, how vulnerable, how willing are you to explore yourself with him or her witnessing, and that like sacred witness of what does that feel like. And that alone in that practice can be a beautiful opener to how much shame and judgment and fear and insecurity are you carrying in your bodies, that like it's awkward for you to be watched or witnessed or doing it with or in front of each other. But then how quickly people can go to just penetrative sex all of a sudden, like he's in, we're in, and we're just going at it. And it's like, that's no big deal. But you want to have space and actually attune to me and see, feel, and hear me in my sexual expression or in my body. What does that even feel like? And also, listeners, what's going on in your visceral body when I say this? Is your asshole tight? Is your hips, like, are they stiff?
Yeah.
What
happens, right? What happens? Because this for me is pushing me. This sort of invitation that you gave, and I was like, oh, I should just share like totally what my somatic response was. And like, I get tight in my feet.
Okay.
Right. And it's like I can feel my fascia just like tighten up. And I think to myself as you're speaking, and it's like emotional to me, because it's like, it's so stupid that we're in this position where we cannot be allowed to pleasure ourselves, but then we can just go at full penetrative sex. I was just like, that seems so disconnected from
true intimacy,
and just like our personal life experience, like just with me. I'm just experiencing me, right? And again, that's our foundation right here. And
so keep sharing, because I might have a thought, but sorry, keep going.
That's okay. I was going to just finish what I was feeling and thinking. So yes, like my fascia tightened, and like, if you're talking about the asshole tighten, so like I like rise a little in my seat, it just comes up, and that's like my energetic roots coming up. Like, this is a little bit, I'm not
safe
sure
body,
about this.
The safety.
Yeah.
Ooh, this feels uncharted territory. This feels unsafe. And one of my Tantra teachers would say, where are you not unsafe? You're just highly uncomfortable. And how much we use the safety word of like, well, he's not creating safety, or I don't feel safe. And it's like, wait a minute, like safety is essential. And like, really, safety is a false idea, because like, we don't know our trigger or our boundary until, like you said, you were fine in your body until I said that, and it brought stuff up for you. So you just don't know when you're navigating in the bedroom. You don't know what's going to come up. If you're really present, you can catch it and you can speak to it. and wanting to bring up this point, Kay. So, and I had a beloved, a tantric lover, do this with me in the bedroom, and it brought up so much of my inner child, so much of my fear around how insecure and how I'm this sexual being. I've had sexual experiences. I didn't have shame as a kid. Like, it brought up a lot for me to see at that time, oh wow, like, I'm not afraid of having sex. I'm afraid of intimacy. I'm afraid of being seen. And for a lot of women and men, that is the fear, right? Because when I ask you to do that, or partners to do that, let's talk about how it could bring up or play into porn. So you want to shame oftentimes in the church, men are shamed because it's the porn addiction, undercover secrecy. That's common here. Women, wives shaming their husbands for these porn addictions, or looking at porn behind their backs, or having this thing that they didn't know about where they feel like infidelity in the marriage, or cheating, or lying, or mistrust, right? I've had a lot of that work through in client space with partners and girlfriends, like just people talking about it being a thing. So you want to shame him for looking at porn, which I don't agree with. Porn is not, it's not true. Like, it's not healthy. Like, it's a toxic, like, if anything, it's a disconnecting and dissociating behavior to what sex and intimacy and lovemaking really is.
We have, you had some good things to say about it.
Yeah, but think about that with women, and sex and porn. So men are very visual, and men love to give. They love to provide. That's their innate being. That's their nature, the masculine energy. You don't want to let him, so he's visual. So the more a woman is connected to her sensuality and her primal and her erotic self, that's a beautiful visual for a man to watch and witness in the bedroom. It turns on his innate primal want to, like, just connect with you more. But so many women, like, so you don't want him to watch porn. You don't want him to do any of that, but, like, you're not willing to be the visual or the thing that, like, so why not create that with him and yourself, so that, like, they're not that it's going to defer them from ever looking at it, but I would just think, like, where do we play a part as women in shaming? I've never shamed my partners for watching porn. I don't like it. I never was super into it. Yes, I've watched it or seen it. But I think more men would have less of a problem with it if we went back to, like, not shaming them for being in their body, teaching them to touch themselves in front of you as much as you touch yourself, and let it be a visual art, a visual masterpiece, a visual experience, right? And then it's also showing you, again, where are my limiting beliefs? Where are my insecurities? Where are my fears? Where are my judgments and my projections at him, at men, at her, at women, and also within myself?
Always pointing back to that self-responsibility. And I think that is massive for really understanding your triggers, really understanding why did my body respond this way? What is it about this, like, imagining this experience that I'm like, oh, hell no, I'm not ready for that type thing. And what is it that's feels so vulnerable to me that I'm not prepared for that kind of space yet, right?
And for me, it's in my journey through that, because that experience came up for me in 2022 was when I had that experience with him asking me to do that in the bedroom. And I was like, it showed all of these parts of me, and I was like, wow. And he was so great at holding space and so wonderful that it was safe, but it still was insecures and vulnerability for me. That's what it's doing, is it's showing us our shadow. It's showing us where the inner work is at. It's showing us where, oh, this is the thing I'm making about him that's really about me. And how often we as women project onto men so much shame and so much, like, you're good, you're bad, you're right, you're wrong, you're perverted, you just want sex, whatever the narratives or the things we say about men, even our partners, our husbands, right? Or I've heard women say about their partners. just, it shows like, is that really true? What is the narrative? Is it really
Yeah.
still my narrative? And I think that's the somatic experience of, if you want to get clear about what you really think and feel about sex, not just from the logical mind and the religious and societal programs, get in the body and have a felt experience with yourself and your partner. And it will say so much more about anything that you can think or logic or reason.
Like really a very quick access into your shadow. Really, really.
Yeah.
And I've been thinking about how actually really challenging this is for people to challenge themselves, challenge their narrative, ask questions. A lot of conditioning across, America is to not be curious, is to not ask questions and just to receive what you're told. And that's the truth of it. Not just in religion, but in our education system is that way as well. And our major leaders are that way as well.
And that's the awakening of
Our
the
news.
feminine. Well, yeah, the feminine, like we're learning how to live life from a feminine energetic approach, like the creative feminine era of, hey, we're not doing each other, we're not logicking each other, we're not analyzing and fixing each other anymore. We're feeling and we're attuning and we're listening and we're flowing and we're guiding and we're opening. That is the true way of, I believe, how we were created as beings, as children. Like that's how we're meant to live and experience life.
And
the
that,
eros,
and that,
the aliveness.
Like this is probably another episode too, is just the clarification of feminine is not feminist. I think not to me.
It's not.
Yeah,
no.
Not feminist. But coming back to this challenge of asking ourselves these questions and what comes up for me, and then there's this kind of like, well, what do I do with that information, or how do I do that? I just wanted to to take it, to simplify it, because what we talked about there in being able to be in pleasure and pleasure ourselves in front of our partner, someone we trust, could be like 500 steps down the road from our first episode, which is just being able to even be with ourselves. And so then that's, it's great. What came up for you when Hilary offered that invitation? All you got to do is you just got to be like this, and just set it aside, set it away, because I know that if this is something that you want to address, you want to have more aliveness and intimacy in life, you may not have to address those questions right away. Set them aside. They'll come up.
And to share with you, that's another thing we talk about in client space with couples and private one-on-one is like, yes, there's consent and boundaries, but you don't know the consent and boundary until you hit the edge of it. So when I tell you, okay, if you want to get real raw, real quick, and you go into that practice just with yourself, where I said you can start with self, you can start in a mirror, you can even just start with closing your own eyes and going into your own body and starting to touch and feel her or him. And I do this with both male and female clients. It's not just a female thing. Female body thing. You can go to that far to like, oh wow, let's see what it would feel like to touch ourselves in front of each other. But if that's like, oh wow, this is really far and I'm not available for this, I'm not ready for this, perfect. It's giving you a reference point to say, okay, from having this intense experience or having this reality of like, holy shit, where do I scale back to like, okay, honey, I'm going to go and do this and start to explore myself in this way. For me, this is where I'm at with this scale of getting here. And maybe it's not even a desire to go there. It's just showing you, well, what do I desire from this experience? I'm going to go 5 steps back this way and 2 steps over here and start with this approach with self. And then for men, it's like, okay, so maybe in experiencing that, like I have a little bit more compassion and I can see a part of my wife I've never seen before. In like, what does this say about if I am hiding and watching porn, or I have an addiction or whatever, or, oh wow, this is what I learned about myself, and where like I might be projecting things onto her that are actually like an insecurity or a light into myself, into my shadow part. So beautiful practice.
Mm-hmm.
No, do I tell all my clients to go straight there right away? No, most times it's like, let's just start with what it feels like to be attuned.
What's the
Attuned,
foundation? Yeah.
the attunement
Yeah.
of, can I even feel my physical body? How
Yeah.
connected to my body? When I said that, for you to notice you were having a visceral
Yeah.
reaction.
Yeah.
Because how many times do we have that, or we're doing something and it's like we don't even notice we've been in this tight, tense
It's a
body for like
bracing.
minutes
Yeah.
in, and then I'm like, oh wow,
Yep.
I was
Yep.
just gripping the steering wheel and clenching my pelvis, and
Yes.
like my
Yes.
feet are stiff. Like, but most times it's when I'm in my head and I'm in heavy over analytical, or I'm heavy critic,
So good.
right?
Just even that is such a lesson right
Yeah.
there. That's when we get into the fear-based thinking, our
Mm-hmm.
body responds to that fear.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I love your teaching on the fact that the trigger is the friend.
Mm-hmm.
And I so want that to be the future
Mm-hmm.
for me. I want these things that are triggered and negative and unwanted, undesired to totally be seen as like, okay, so it's coming up for you. Hooray,
Mm-hmm.
because this means that now you have this new threshold.
Mm-hmm.
And when you move and work through this, oh wow.
Does it open the intimacy and the depth and the
Yeah, to
connection?
life
Mm-hmm.
every single time
Mm-hmm.
that you approach the edge. And then as you're well resourced, what we'll talk about, you can move through that. And
Mm-hmm.
just like, there's got to be, I know there's this like Nintendo game that's like, that's what's going to my mind.
Yeah,
The
the
world
Mario.
opens more
Yeah.
and more and more
Mm-hmm.
as you are able to break through these walls.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's the eros and the aliveness. People
yeah,
think erotic energy or the eros is sex related and
yeah,
sexual, but it's being in that like tapped in, turned on feeling of like, just as much as you feel a resistance and a rigidity and like, oh, that's uncomfortable, it's like, what if in the polar opposite, it's like feeling the aliveness and the flow and the bliss and the joy of just experiencing myself. And I don't need to put it on to someone else. I don't need to be turned on by someone else. I don't need to like engage to feel it. It's just an aliveness and
yeah,
erotic life I feel through my being, because I have tapped into her. I have sat with those shadow, scary parts,
yeah,
those judgments and those fears that keep us numbed out and disconnected
yeah.
and dissociated from a beautiful, erotic life.
So I want to speak actually to that, things that keep us in fear. I
Yeah.
want to speak to it specifically from the LDS standpoint. And I know that you've experienced this in your life in other ways,
Mm-hmm.
but we have these narratives that are told to us to keep us safe.
Mm-hmm.
And they're very well sold, because I do want to be safe.
Mm-hmm.
Also, these narratives are given to us to keep us close to God. And they're very well sold, because I do want to be close to God. Okay, so I want to be safe and I want to be close to God. Here's the way to do it. And most of it is stay away from and stay connected to. And the things that we stay away from are a lot of these things that bring us more into ourselves. And it's like, that was something shocking to me when it's a slow journey. Mm-hmm. It can't be this big explosion. You can't handle it. So you always just know the question that arises that is most important for you in your body and your mind. You're ready for it. So address it. And I had a brother challenge me. He said, I want you to just kind of deconstruct the law of chastity and sort of approach it from a more objective and not so like from your conditioning. Okay. Mm-hmm. So that was a year-long process for me doing that. And I just really recognized how the narratives that keep us safe and that keep us close to God, those kinds of things, are actually keeping us a being that's well controlled.
Yeah.
And that can be sold narratives easily.
Mm-hmm.
And keeping us from our autonomy. And what that does throughout a lifetime is it can keep you from experiencing the full range and depth that you are capable of experiencing of aliveness in life. Mm-hmm. And so it's just so far down that, like, here's what you do to stay safe, and you can't even see that it's keeping you from this like heartbeat of life. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to just, I felt it necessary to say that for anybody that's like, this conversation in general is not safe.
But and if that's your belief, then like you have that right to feel that, and also get curious and maybe be like, oh, I'm being triggered by already 4 or 5 things that they've said in the first 15-20 minutes of this. Like, cool, keep listening.
Well, and this message is
my invitation,
not,
you know.
It's not for anybody that's not wanting a new way. If you are in your way and you're happy with it, this wouldn't be something you're looking for anyway.
Well, isn't there and like I definitely went through my Bible Belt Christian girl phase in college, like college days, pre-college days too. Narrow is the way, and few who find it.
Mm-hmm. And there are a few who find it. Yeah.
So in the spiritual realm, that's how, so with a reference I use of like, narrow is the way and few who find it, also in like wanting to live a life that's true for them outside of the religious cultured box. And something I've said for a long time that I came to from my own meditating and awarenesses, and like you came to your own on that too, of religion teaches us that it's outside of us, and spirituality, eros, aliveness, soul connection, teaches us it's inside of us. Mm-hmm. So what I find often happens is like where they're pedestaling this God form or Jesus with men in the church, and women are this, and the man is this of the house, he's this in the temple, he's this in the temple marriage. Like there's very much this like God-like way that they put man as God, or connected more to God, closer to God.
Sure, I know that's
the gate to God
a little bit now, but
yes. And in saying that, then it's also teaching us like where our sexual power, our sexual connection, our God force is like through another person. And that's where like a lot of the men are have traumatized their partners, or partners have allowed their partners to traumatize them, because it's like, well, I was told I had to give it to him when he wanted it. He's the man of the house. I behave, or I surrender, or I listen. Like when he wanted it, I was supposed to give it to him.
Yeah.
Or when he, like he's the one I'm supposed to listen to. And again, like that's disempowering and taking away from your goddess self, your God self. And then women wonder why I don't know how to have an orgasm. I've never had an orgasm, or I don't know how to experience pleasure. And it's like, because you've been unconsciously being told and programmed that your goddess, your God self, your pleasure is outside of you, or it's dictated by something or someone else.
Yeah. Or they wonder why their life is dead, dull, monotonous, colorless, depressing, draining. Wow. Lots of D words. Yeah, and I love that you said that too, because
and the D might just fix it, but it's not.
The D might
dick. Like sex, like, and sex is just supposed to fix it all, or not, or maybe people don't think that. But
well, that's the sex positive narrative, is just like that. But because they're not experiencing sex as something that's fulfilling to themselves, and they don't think that's really what a woman, because that's also a narrative that is taught to women, is that sex is for the man, and you are there for him, and sex is not for the woman. We just participate that way so we can create life.
So yeah, it's interesting you say that, because I had a woman in one of my Mama Medicine containers, women's containers last summer, who said I was sharing my story about, the sex industry, meaning like sugar baby, call girl, dabbling in the strip club, if people are like, what does she mean by the sex industry? There's multiple facets of that realm. And I was talking to her about, and she's like, well, she was interested, intrigued, like, well, tell me what it was like for you, or share a little bit of your experience. And I was telling her, in that realm, really, like, the women are the ones really in control, because the men are, just sharing their desires or their wants, or they're like, it's like a business transaction in a way, but but like, if a woman isn't consenting to what the man wants, then it's like, it's not happening. The woman is in control.
Yeah.
And she was sharing about how she's like, well, damn, like, you were able to choose if or when you wanted to have sex with someone, which, mind you, I'm not out having sex with all these clients, penetrative sex, like, in that way, which a lot of people think, oh, that's what you just do. It's like, no, there's so much more to that realm.
Yeah.
But what she was saying was, I'm so like, it's impressive. And it's like, wow, not only did you get to choose and you were in charge or in control, but you also, like, fuck, you got paid, right?
Sure.
But what she was sharing was, well, in a way, was I not prostituted out by my religion and my parents, my mom specifically, saying, you give it to him when he wants it, you do what he says, otherwise he's going to go get it elsewhere.
Yeah.
So it's like this idea of, like, again, these labels and these words that we use in society of, like, oh, you're a prostitute, or oh, you're a whore, or oh, and it's like, those sex workers, those whores, those women who are in their sexual power or in their sexual energy actually are the ones that are oftentimes in control or saying yes or no, not the other way around. But like, you're passive, and you're in a marriage, and are you passively prostituting yourself out to your partner and you're not even aware of it? And no shame, no blame, but like, curiosity, compassion, and openness. Another like question. How much are we pointing the finger at everyone else when it's like, how many more fingers are pointing back at me? And how it's easy to see what everyone else is doing right or wrong, or what everyone else should or shouldn't be doing. But like you said, radical self-responsibility, radical self-honesty, to be like, hi, it's me.
Yeah.
I'm the problem, it's me. Like,
that's been my theme song.
Right. And so many women are just like, and I was one of them. I know, like, I played my part in manipulating and coercing and victimizing and prostitute. Like, sure. Like, but the difference is, like, I've owned those parts. I've paid those karmic debts. Like, I've come to an awareness of, oh, what did I learn about myself, and who do I want to be now, in partnership, in friendship, in practitioner, in life.
Yeah. Yep.
And I think you probably can speak to a lot of those parts of you, through your awakening and your experiencing and your relationship with your partner and sex and your own body. But anyways, that was just, here we go on these stories. And I'm like, and bring me back to what we were saying.
Well, I think that's actually a really good spot to segue into
attunement,
talking about attunement with our partner. And as we've offered a challenge, yes, there was a kind of like a direct challenge I'm taking, right, with that interaction, that brought stuff up in me. But just even the challenge that we're offering of, well, how are you feeling? What are the questions? What's being brought up? What are your narratives? And how now we're going to talk about attuning and how that can help you move through the challenges. And also, like, the whole episode is about sex and why attuning can make sex great and greater and open up new doors to you.